What is going on, scholars? If you are ready to learn about possibly the First World War, political strategy, and the first independent black nation in the New World, then you are in the right place. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and this is Black Study Snacks. We give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. This week's theme is the Haitian Revolution. Let's get snacking.
Powers in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic, black's fun. We get blacker in the sun of my black ones.
All right, so y'all know we don't just jump right into it. We like to give you a nice foundation education before we actually head into the complexity, and it's complex, of the Haitian Revolution. First, let's start off what is Haiti, right? So Haiti is a Caribbean island that is connected also to the Dominican Republic, located south of the United States and east of Central America. The indigenous population of Haiti were the Arawak-speaking people of Taino. Right, so I think we've talked about Jamaica before. If you haven't taken that course, go back to a previous course. But the Tainos were the indigenous people that were in southern Florida, Jamaica, Haiti, and a lot of other places in the Caribbean as well. And they are actually the ones that gave the original name of the island or of the section of the island, Haiti, which also translates directly to land of high mountains.
Powers in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic, black's fun. We get blacker in the sun of my black ones.
Now we're all aware of Christopher Columbus and his great explorations and how he sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Is that the song? I think that's the rhyme. If it's not, we can definitely learn through music. I might have to go ahead and make a few remixes. But although Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492 and landed upon a lot of Caribbean islands, including Haiti, he was not the first there. But Christopher Columbus did build a settlement in Haiti, which he named La Navidad, which may sound a little bit familiar. Feliz Navidad. Right, which translates to Christmas or translates to nativity, nature, natural. So that is what he named that first settlement. But when he left and came back in 1493, the entire settlement had been burnt down and all 39 of the settlers were nowhere to be found. All right, as a smart man does, he did not rebuild the settlement in the exact same place. He headed to the eastern side, the further side, which is currently Dominican Republic, to build a new settlement, which he called La Isabela.
Powers in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic.
Over 100 years after Christopher Columbus created the settlement across La Isabela, or current-day Dominican Republic, the French pirates used the island of Tortuga in order to go in and raid the Spanish settlements. Finally, after the 9 Years' War of 1697, the Spanish ceded, forfeited, or handed over the land to their French opponents, and France was able to create their most wealthy and profitable colony, Saint-Domingue, which was named by the indigenous population Haiti.
The powers in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic, black's...
So like I said before, the Haitian Revolution is a very complex piece of history with a lot of different moving parts. Very interesting stuff. See if you can keep up and keep count of the participating parties and why they did what they did in the strategy. But it of course starts off with the enslaved population. August 21st, 1791. Over 100 years of enslavement on the island of Haiti, multiple generations of both indigenous populations as well as enslaved Africans brought over to Haiti, or the colony of Saint Domingue. Over 100 years later, this population finally revolts, trying to get full citizenship, political and social rights of a French citizen. After a year of revolting, violence and basically war on the island, by 1792 the slave rebels had taken over 1/3 of the Saint Domingue colony, and by now the National Assembly of France legally decreed all free black men to have equal civil, social and political rights as the French citizens. Note, right now it's all free black men, not all black men, period. So all the slaves that were still held on the island were technically still seen as non-citizens.
Powers in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic.
Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting. So in 1793, France declares war on Great Britain. And Great Britain, who already has a few colonies, including Jamaica, within the Caribbean space, sees this as an opportunity to take Haiti, or Saint Domingue, into their own empire and reestablish firmly slavery on the island. So Great Britain accepts this decree of war. I don't know if that's how it works with nations. I want to go war with you. I accept. Not sure. But Great Britain says, you know what? We accept this war and we're going to strategically try to take Saint Domingue from you. Spain now sees this as also an opportunity to get inside the mix and also help out the British Empire. So what they do is they supply food, ammunition, and naval support to the slave rebels that are on the island already fighting the French for their own freedom. So at this point, it's France against Spain, Great Britain, and the indigenous or local enslaved Africans on the island of Saint Domingue, or on the island of Haiti already. So France is taking it from a lot of different angles right now. But the chess moves continue. By 1794, what do you think France does in order to counteract Spain and Great Britain? Good, you can take a guess. You can leave your comments below, put it inside the chat if you're enrolled in the course. What do you think strategically they do? If you said abolish slavery, 10 points for Gryffindor, well done. So what France does is they see that, okay, the local slaves or the local slave rebels are the ones fighting a lot of the hand-to-hand battle, and they are the strong force on the ground. So if we abolish slavery, this frees all the slaves, they now become French citizens, right? Because all free black men are French citizens, get equal rights. So they abolish slavery and they say, hey, we are at war. France is at war with Spain and Britain. You are now a French citizen, so that means that you are at war with Spain and Britain. Fight for France, fight for your country. And as new citizens, that's what they do. Led by the legendary, the one and only great Commander Toussaint Louverture, the enslaved rebels then join the French military and fight against the British and fight against the Spanish. And of course, they win. After the war, naturally, Toussaint Louverture becomes a leader within the Haitian Republic, and I'm not gonna get into it yet. We're gonna get into the next one. We can do a whole snacks, right, on Toussaint. He's just a dope person, dope leader, but we'll learn a little bit more about him next time. Keep on snacking. Peace.
Powers in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic.
Starting from very humble beginnings as an enslaved human, Toussaint Louverture became the most prolific and successful commander of all time, with the specific goal of freeing all black people within Saint Domingue and Hispaniola at large. After winning the colony back strategically from Spain and Great Britain, fighting with the French, Toussaint Louverture had a vision of his own. So he wrote a constitution for Saint-Domingue shortly after, decreeing himself. This is crazy. The strategy was crazy. He named himself the governor for life and called for Black autonomy as well as a sovereign Black state, which means an independent Black state separate from France. Now, how do you think France took that? Yeah, not too well. Napoleon Bonaparte sent an entire fleet and loads of soldiers and ships to Saint-Domingue in order to really reinforce the power of France over the colony. They also sought after Toussaint Louverture to make sure that he understood that he was not in power. When they did finally catch up with him, they had to trick him in order to get him, and they sent him back to France. After tricking Toussaint, the French thought that they had an opening, were able to reestablish slavery on the island and colony of Saint-Domingue. But the Black leaders and Black citizens of the colony were not having it and revolted yet again in 1802. And by 1804, the Black citizen, Black leaders had finally won the very long fight and battle for Black independence and were able to rename the colony, or the newly established independent Black nation, Haiti.
The power's in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic.
So one of the things that I really I love about the Haitian Revolution is the fact that, one, there's a lot of moving parts, right? You see a lot of different countries, a lot of different strategy happening. You also see that there is a underappreciated effect that the Haitian Revolution has had on the world, but also on America specifically. So on today's, what we're going to do is we're going to cover three kind of very pivotal moments in history that the Haitian Revolution, or the Haitian population period, has been able to impact and mold the future of America. Let's get snacking.
To be imputed, the power's in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic.
So up first is the Battle of Savannah in 1779. This is before America even becomes a nation, before it's an independent country. This is during the Revolutionary War, right? It's America against its former glory, Great Britain. And in this war, or in this battle specifically, there is over 500 French troops, including gens de couleur, which includes Black Haitians who have decided to volunteer to fight in this war as well. So there were Haitians in America fighting for the freedom and independence of America before America was even America. Isn't that's crazy? And there is a monument that has recently been uplifted, but I feel like it's so interesting and underappreciated that the first Black independent nation also helped America gain its independence. Up next is possibly the greatest real estate acquisition in the history of real estate acquisitions. Do you know what we're talking about? Go ahead and leave your guess below. All right, I'll give it 2 seconds. All right, now it is the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, purchasing over 828,000. Yes, that number is correct. 828,000 square miles of land, which basically doubled the United States Republic kind of land mass at the time. Crazy, right? We're talking about from Louisiana all the way up past Montana. It is a massive amount of land. So if you don't know, that land was formerly held by France, who at the time was currently fighting the Haitian Revolution in Saint-Domingue, and they were also at the same time at war with Great Britain. So America was like, hey, we want this land. And you know, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of historians, the French needed access to money because of all the things that are going on, and really couldn't afford another war or any type of other conflict with a power. They were already fighting the Haitians locally in Saint Domingue, already fighting Great Britain. So they're like, America, we're not trying to have no beef right now. Here, we'll sell it to you. And it was one of the greatest acquisitions in history underneath the presidency of Thomas Jefferson. And lastly, this one can be maybe a little difficult to measure like the Louisiana Purchase, but the Haitian Revolution and the freedom was a symbol for Black freedom in general and hope for the recently enslaved and freed African Americans inside of America. And according to Du Bois, the Haitian Revolution could have led to the suppression and the decrease of the transatlantic slave trade, right? Because the America and Great Britain and other powers had just seen what slave rebellions can do. So in order to stop that, let's cut off how many slaves we're bringing over. Let's cut off the power and how many Black people there are on this side of the continent, on this side of the world. That way there can be successful uprisings in other colonies. Kind of an interesting point, Du Bois. I see you. So that is it for the Haitian Revolution. Hopefully this again was just a sneak peek, right? A snack, a entry level into what is the Haitian Revolution. Definitely make sure you check out your documentaries, read your books. If you have any suggestions or things that you've come along, go ahead and put those in the comments and put what you find the most interesting about the aspects of the Haitian Revolution. What I find the most interesting is, why isn't this considered the First World War? All right, I really don't understand it. And I think it's because it's not, like America's not involved in it, but this is pre-America. So when we're thinking about world powers, right, we had Spain, we had Poland, we had France, we had Great Britain, we had an entire kind of unnamed population in Haiti, so maybe like the indigenous population. So there were a lot of world powers, and it was literally, it was all over the place. So in my opinion, it could have been for sure the First World War. But let me know in the comments what you think. We appreciate y'all for tuning in to Black Study Snacks, and of course, make sure you keep on snacking. Peace.
The power's in the truth, that's why the truth is so elusive. All this black magic, black one.